Hi everyone, welcome back to the Journey of Now. And Nick and I are just wanting to bring to light something that we've been sitting in discussion amongst ourselves with. And it's been interesting because now that we've had some time to integrate our plant medicine journeys, and now that it's landed and it's been a while now in
Yeah.
terms of where we stand with things. Because I was just reflecting back on our previous podcasts and where we were with things. And I think the last time we spoke about it, we just sort of, it was like 2-3 months afterwards, but I feel like we were still very much in like the high of it versus now it's,
It hadn't settled yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just been really interesting to see how just where society or where what the new healing trend is or where people are going with things. And what I've seen is that now in the last, like specifically the last year, or I would even say the last 7 to 8 months specifically, plant medicine has really been on the rise. And I think it's an incredible tool, an incredible thing to, incredible medicine to use. Don't get me wrong.
And we've used it with our own clients. We've used it ourselves.
I will continue to use, not to use it, but I mean to recommend the use of it in the initial opening. But I think this podcast comes with like this, not the side effects of it, but just also,
Another perspective.
yeah.
Another way of looking at plant medicine. And just as you may be on a journey right now where you are questioning the traditional Western medical system and you're looking at natural alternatives to your healing journey or to the inner work that you are possibly venturing on or the journey that you have been on, and you're looking for maybe the breakthrough or the visceral sensation of that breakthrough or even relief,
Yeah.
this is normally where plant medicine comes in to fill the gap.
Yeah.
But when the gap then begins, when there's a substitution essentially from a pill to this organic compound, which is, I suppose, a lot safer on the body, but also in need of respect and awareness on all fronts, it's something that should be questioned on just, what is the frequency? What is the intention? How often are you using this? Why are you using this?
I mean, you replace the drug with the medicine, but
Yes.
then the medicine becomes the drug. So it just becomes super counterintuitive. And I would even go so far as to even replace plant medicine with spirituality or any of these things. I mean, we spoke about this earlier in the year about wellness being the like a cult, or like the whole cult of wellness, or even just spirituality, or all of it. When a dogma or something becomes more important, and you use it to substitute for your own intuition and inner guidance systems, or rely more on those things that come through the experience of those things, then that's when I would question the level of like reliance or on it, if that makes sense.
So if I were to maybe deconstruct what you're saying, it's essentially looking at the utility of the medicine that you're taking.
I think with everything, because it's the same thing with food. Like if you think about like disease, there's this thing in traditional Chinese medicine where they say that disease enters through the mouth, and also like all troubles exit and enter through the mouth as well. And it's the same thing with plant medicine as well. It's the thing of, yeah. So when you take apart that concept, it looks at how food and your digestion and yeah, essentially like the food that you're eating has one of the biggest components on your healing and on your body system and all of that.
Yes.
So if you think about what mind altering substances and all of those other things can do, then it's like if food can become poison or food can be medicine, it's the same thing with things like this. Then you just have to be able to sit with yourself and question in terms of like, why am I using this? Why am I doing this? Am I coming in here as in another form of escapism? Is this another way that I can cement in that I am not powerful enough or that my voice does not hold enough weight? Because I think, when I started my plant medicine journey, there was a part of me that was looking for that because I didn't trust myself fully enough.
Do you think it was kind of throwing caution to the wind and relieving you of the accountability that you had to take?
Yeah, to a degree. So, when you come from a Christian or a religious background, what they'll tell you is that, oh, like we said on our last podcast about how God will save you and like there's this miracle, and then all of a sudden everything is shifted all at once. And so then there's no accountability or anything. It's almost like that version of you with not even just identity, but like whatever beliefs and construct you held as that identity or that version is then, it's almost like, oh, that skin is just left there. And you step out into this new version that is like loved and holy and like all like in that whole like stuff,
But then when we're living from that idea, it's that we are then basically saying that there are parts of us where there's something wrong, that there's innately something wrong, and that we are sick.
And so when I started the plant medicine journey, I mean, we've been on this self-introspective, self-development journey for the last like 10 years. And it's interesting because when you come to do these sort of journeys, like how these parts will come up, and sure, they're there for integration, but I think that they're just there to be looked at. And so when I came in, there was this whole romanticized conversation about like what this medicine is going to do for you and all these things. And I came in sick, not just on a physical level, but I also had like emotional sickness and just like years of stuff that had built up in my system. And I was looking for this release, but I also listened to other people's accounts of things. And
also, let's just take into context the amount of work that you'd done prior to that.
Of course, yeah. I didn't just wait for someone to come in and save me. I had done the prep work for
a very long time.
Yeah, for a very long time. And not just on a somatic level, but like on a dietary level, like on a mind level. I had also cleared my personal space of friends and like people in general.
Just a general clearing.
I spent like a long time in solitude in the last like year or so.
3 years.
3 years, definitely, yeah. Yeah, and my intuition led me to that space, and it was like everything. It was following the breadcrumbs of getting to the space of our first plant medicine journey, and it was life changing. And I will always recommend it to people who have trouble letting go or surrendering, because all of these practices, all of these things will only take you so far, and sometimes you need something to just get you over the edge a little bit. Sometimes you need that just as like the almost, if you're going off the bungee, then just I think that the mushroom journey was just the thing to sort of push you off the edge. But in the after of that, like the integrating all of that, that's also where all of the work comes in, and also trusting that the reason why I think I wanted to talk about this is because there's an overuse and a dependence on plant medicine for these big realizations, for these big shifts, and thinking that you don't have to do any of the work, that you don't have to, and by the work I mean like your daily routine and the daily aspect of the ways that we structure our days to hold ourselves accountable to ourselves, because the way that you build your day is the way that you build your life. So I think that when you come to plant medicine with that, then it's like, is it actually helping you? Because you are relying solely on this as a form of guidance, as a way to bring these massive insights, as a way to connect to God or the divine or whatever you choose to call it, or towards or within yourself, or as a way to release your traumas, all of these things. And you don't need to have plant medicine to do these things. It does help as an opener, and it does help as something to put. Different medicines have different things that they do.
Different frequencies, different consciousness.
But to
Yeah.
completely rely on them to do all of those things for you, then it's almost like it replaces the you with the identity of the medicine. And that's where it becomes dangerous.
I think it's also just to keep in mind if you have ever done these journeys, you when you're in it, you recognize the choice that you have. It's not that you just go in there and the medicine just works. There's a surrender, there is intention, there is choice. And as much as you are thrown into the current, it is your choice to either swim against it or step out of it or allow it to guide you.
I would say with every medicine besides Bufo. Bufo, I
agree. I totally agree with that. From like our previous experiences, but with that being said, it's not to say that you won't, experience euphoria or experience this outer body awareness or whatever the case may be, but just in terms of the dynamics and the context of the journey. And many a time it is really the cellular memory, those memories and experiences that you have forgotten, that you not even your subconscious can clearly rebuild that experience, but your body remembers. And then it's as when your body lights up, then the mind recalls what this experience was, and then you're able to relive it or to look at it and navigate it or find clarity on, that's why I've been holding this shame in my system, or that's why I'm holding this guilt in my system. But it's also really important that if I may, I've had clients that have done this, and they did it before we started working together, and they had these experiences, yet they didn't have the vocabulary or the understanding or awareness of themselves. And it's like, wow, I've done this, but I'm not even sure how to maybe interpret shame or interpret like what love feels like, or what's the difference between this and this. And just by them not having the words to contextualize or to express themselves, it makes it such a it makes the experience or the unpacking of it a lot more complex.
Yeah, it's almost like cloudy and like confusing and heavy versus what it could be. And you've seen the difference, what it looks like when you have when you've done plant medicine ceremonies, but then what you have afterwards is long-term support. Because
I'd say prep before.
Yeah.
And one of the protocols I've been running with personal clients now is, we do about 3 months or so worth of work, where it's intensive, where you are journaling, where you are reflecting, where we are having conversations, where you are bringing these things to the forefront and we're discussing things. And then you find these certain areas like, I don't want to go there, or you're noticing resistance, and you flag those nutshell statements where the subconscious mind doesn't want to open yet because you're needing to release certain things. And I find that many of the times those spaces, that's what's unlocked. It's kind of like, you're pushed off the cliff. You don't have the mind is unable to protect you at that point in time. It's like, okay, it's now I have, my function is no longer that. It's just going to allow us to roll with this tape and this narrative and this story.
So as an example, in terms of how you hold things on a somatic level before you can verbalize it, a lot of us struggle with releasing our emotions, so we'll hold it in. And what happens is when you swallow that in, you hold it literally here in the space of your diaphragm or your middle back. And then what that results in is that you will have very tense shoulders, neck pain, and like tension in your jaw. So it's tension headaches, it's stiff shoulders, and it's like, I mean, I was at the chiro or at the physio like once every 2 weeks or once a month at a stage, because I thought it was just my body, but it was also my body screaming at me that something needs to be released. And it wasn't just physical. And it's the same, yeah. And so plant medicine just helps you look at it, or just gives you an entryway to look at it if you are really struggling to look at it. So I'm not saying that it is not powerful at all. I'm saying that it is really powerful, and it should be held with reverence and respect, and like, don't come at it thinking just, oh, this is going to be the answer to all the things, and like, this is going to completely change me and all the things. It is going to change you, but what does change you is your choices. It is the work that you put in. It is the vision that you implement for your life. Those are the things that ultimately change you. And maybe the medicine gives you a look into what that could look like for you and to how it feels. And yeah, it can be a beautiful experience. So that's all that I'm saying with it. It's not...
The main takeaway is, look, utilizing your own discernment before you, move on this adventure, and then the adventures following that, like really feeling into those next steps. And I know of individuals, all around the world where they do these practices continuously, and to the point where you have conversations, and it's really just why is it that you feel like you need to rely on this all the time to create the clarity, or to give you that sensation of, oh, I'm on the right track, or alignment, or to bridge the gap, or to feel connected, or whatever that thing is, that euphoric feeling is. And not to now dive too much into technical jargon, but essentially, I mean, what are you doing to your neurons? What are you actually doing to the mind? What are you conditioning yourself? The same as we'll have different chemicals released through the body when we are taking medication. This is the same thing that's happening. You've got to look at your dopamine, you've got to look at your serotonin, you've got to look at these chemicals that literally drive our lives.
You also need to look at your ability to be able to hold the experience, because they are very, very intense. I mean, you remember after my mushroom experience, I couldn't drive for a month. Yeah. My vision, I was still seeing circles and squares and still having very intense dreams. But I had a very high dose mushroom ceremony, so just keep that in mind. But I mean, it was like the prep work, but then in the afterwards, but like my body was very tired after that. Like, it took a lot out of me. It took me like 3 to 4 months to actually like physically recover after that.
And taken into context, if your nervous system has been slammed, and been on high alert for the last 15, 20 years, because you've got unresolved childhood trauma and experiences.
It's gonna highlight that.
It's not gonna just highlight that, but your body is fatigued.
Yeah.
And now you've taken something which is taking you beyond that threshold to make sense of it, so you can maybe move out of that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, and create, through the awareness and the realization, that cycle is able to complete itself, and then the system and the equilibrium of the system can be restored. Because that's all the body's trying to do.
I wonder now in the after, in terms of like in the beginning, I was very much like, oh, full, let's go, like all, what's the word? Like leave all guns blazing, full steam ahead, let's go. And I had the same approach with my clients, but like now I also wonder, it's like, this is also why you also have to be able to give yourself the grace to be able to change and have your identity shift. It's like, I also think having a gentler approach and giving myself more time to integrate between these things might have been a better option, because I was tired for a year.
No, you were tired.
Even I spoke to a friend today, and she was like, when you got here versus, your journey throughout the years, like you became more in yourself. And I also wonder, it's like, is it because I completely exhausted my nerve force and my body's ability to heal through these things, because I was doing one after the next thing, and then we were still holding space for people, and then there were still the whole things happening within our personal lives. Yeah. So this is why I'm just saying, you also have to be aware of your body's ability to hold the things. And like with Cambo, you saw with there's certain medicines that I will always recommend for things, but Cambo is like it's like a quick almost like purging detox.
I'd say Cambo is like something that you can easily do. Yeah. Again, twice a year, and go on a journey with that. And it's just because of the visceral nature of it and what it does to your system. Yeah. Like, it's an immune booster, it's a clearing, it's
one of the best like cleansers if you hold a lot of space for people. Goodness. It's amazing. So I think that's something I will come back to. The LSD, I don't know. And by the way, this is a microdose of an LSD. This isn't like a full dose. I don't know. Like, it was very powerful when I did use it, but like I can see how people.
I can see how you can fall into the trap of using it often and then not, regarding it as abuse or addiction. Because then you need to start really questioning that, and those are the parameters.
Being able to like get into those states of like joy and euphoria without that.
What is the intention? So, and for me personally, my use of LSD was to utilize it as a heart opener.
When we go through, so there's certain times in the month, because what we've been through previously, it's like there's certain days in the month or like weeks in the month where it's like your body's just programmed to go into this extreme stress response. And what we used LSD for was to break that pattern. And I would say it's been successful. Like, I don't hold that same...
No, you don't hold the same charge. Mentally now you can notice it and just through awareness. But I think it's just showing yourself, in our case, you can experience... We had anchored a certain emotion and thought process alongside a date or two or three. And that was the big shift there. So you can use these as tools. That's why they also hear these different options available to us. But it's the intention. It is your own bodily awareness. Mm-hmm. It is you really looking at your filter system and saying, look, am I doing this because this is what I genuinely need to step over the edge? Am I doing this because I'm starting to become dependent on this because I've done this a couple of times and I'm still not seeing the results? Well, maybe the question is, are you asking the right questions, and are you actually sitting with yourself, or are you just, hiding behind the medicine and expecting the medicine to do the work that you're not willing to do on yourself or within yourself? And those are just general questions, because it doesn't help to just ingest something and expect your entire life to change. Having a, doing any of these ceremonies is not going to change your bank balance in a week's time. It's, or shift your entire relationship. That's still going to require effort, choice, intention, work, surrender, accountability. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be effort required to create the change and to move from a thing of, this is a once-off experience to this is a more frequent experience to this is just how I am now, and in turn shift your identity.
Yeah, I think that is a powerful way to live your life, and that's essentially the medicine that we have been teaching and preaching and living within our own lives. Ultimately, it will always come back to you versus some substitution for your own voice and your own power, whether it is religion, spirituality, or plant medicine, or some other thing. At the end of the day, it's coming to the realization that you, like, the medicine is you. Like, it's that
You're the one that's experiencing it. For you to experience anything, it means that you need to be bigger than whatever it is.
Bigger than your fear, bigger than your lack of self-esteem, bigger than all of it.
Your body has the ability to reach all those spaces that are induced through these medications or through these experiences. And people have done it for a very long period of time on their own.
What's that thing that we heard about when some things become, when you become aware of a pattern and you still choose to do it, that it's not a pattern anymore, it's a choice. And when you keep abusing yourself and you keep abandoning yourself and you keep choosing something that you perceive as bigger than you, it's not a pattern anymore, it's a choice. So the invitation with us is to then choose yourself and choose your own wisdom and come back to that like centering and build the foundation of you versus building yourself on things that are ephemeral and things that are like they that won't stay. So yeah.
And just on that note, just if you realize that you are in these spaces and you're not consistently showing up for yourself, that's why there's people there that can support you. And when I'm saying this, I'm not even throwing this out like, hey, connect with me. It's connect with someone, a coach, a friend, a mentor, a person that can hold you accountable in the space, and someone that's not going to judge you, someone that can be a sounding board and maybe share insight of what they might observe. And even though it might not be what you like, it may be what you need. Yeah. But again, use your discernment for that. But it does help, especially when you're on these journeys, to have a space of accountability and to know that you're not alone, because it can feel very lonely when you're experiencing these existential expressions and ideas about yourself in your life. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that there was something there. I hope that we could have shared something just from our own experience.
Ultimately, nobody's here to tell you anything that you don't already know on some level. So I hope that you, again, take this as an invitation to tune into your own inner guidance system, that you have an incredible week ahead. Thank you for listening and for taking the time and for sharing space with us. So as always, thank you for making us a part of your journey of now, and we'll see you soon.